anti-corruption and anti-graft matters. Joy News is learning the National Cathedral Secretariat is set to commence processes to engage a private audit firm to undertake full-scale investigations into public funds used for the construction so far. This comes in the wake of a push by two members of the Board of Trustees, Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Eastwood Anama. They say construction should only resume when the current economic challenges are resolved and an audit into the use of public funds is carried out. This is contained in a resolution drafted by two men of God. The two have publicly declared their support for the project and say this move is not a departure but necessary due to the current circumstances. We'll be listening to my colleague Joseph Akabley has been looking into the matters that has come up after these two clergymen are called for audits. Listen.
We understand that the Cathedral Secretariat, they have already decided to engage an internationally acclaimed auditing firm to undertake that audit, not because of this particular proposal that has come in, but they've also confirmed to us that they've indeed received that proposal. And in actual sense, there's a meeting that is going to take place later today, a very important meeting of the Board of Trustees. And one of the major issues that will be discussed will be the decision to engage the auditing firm. The other leg of the issue has to do with the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice. You recall MP for North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, sent a petition to Shraj regarding the identity, that is a member of the Secretariat having multiple identity, as well as claims that he breached the conflict of interest rules in how his company gave a loan. That's the story that we've been told, a loan to the Cathedral Secretariat was subsequently paid back by the Cathedral Secretariat. And so Shraj has written to the Cathedral Secretariat asking for its comments on that matter. And so in responding to it, the Cathedral Secretariat holds the view that it also amounts to giving some indication or the processes that have been undertaken so far. So they consider that probe and the one that they intend to undertake by way of engaging auditing firm to be parallel probes, which they believe will put the matter to rest for good.
Joseph Akabley with highlights with a call for a probe or audit into the National Cathedral project. Well, former Auditor General Daniel Domelevo is urging Parliament to disallow government's use of public funds for the project without parliamentary approval. As you may recall, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta had told Parliament Ghana's contingency vault was relied upon to aid the construction. Mr. Domelevo says this is unlawful.
Let me say first and foremost that this is my opinion, and it is not an audit opinion. I have not gone into every detail of that case, but I find that expenditure or that transaction very, very unfortunate. At no point in time should we be using public funds to fund individual people's wish or desire. So if the president has a desire to put up a cathedral for God, he should go ahead and look for his money, but not to use public funds. But even if he has to use public funds, the Constitution has laid down procedure of using public funds, especially money from the Consolidated Fund. Article 178 provides that it must be in a budget or in a supplementary budget approved by Parliament, except if it is a charge on the appropriation by a law, that is the Constitution, or an act of Parliament. This was not done. Again, we were told that it was an emergency, as a result of which the Minister of Finance used the emergency, emergency vote in making that payment. At the same time, the same Minister of Finance requested that there should be money paid into the contingency fund. Read the Auditor General's report, it's there, that 1.2 million was paid into contingency fund, not the vote, and used for COVID, which is clearly an emergency and unforeseeable expenditure. So if the cathedral was actually an unforeseeable expenditure which occurred, it should have been coming out of the contingency fund, not the vote. Why didn't it come from there? Because the contingency fund is under the supervision of the Finance Committee of Parliament. So there will be transparency and accountability there. So they went in for this black box call contingency vote and use that instead. Again, the Constitution provides that the minister, if he will not even use contingency fund, he must submit a supplementary budget to Parliament. There again, there will be accountability and transparency. To avoid this, the government decided to use contingency vote, which I must admittedly say has been in the books for several years. And it gives the ministers, the various ministers of finance, a leeway of putting money there and can use it anyhow. And I call on Parliament to disallow that expenditure line. They should cancel it. It is unlawful. The Constitution has provided medium for which the government should address contingencies or unexpected expenditures. There are two. One of them, utilizing the vote under the contingency fund, which must be replenished. Secondly, the minister can go to Parliament with supplementary budget. If they will not do this, then they should not allow them. If you look at the budget for 2023, you see that the amount is colossal. I didn't know you were going to ask me a question on it. I will have quoted it for you. But look at the projection for 2024 going. It's going to the tune, I think by 2026, it will be about 14 billion. And why do we have to create such a contingency where there is no transparency on it, there's no accountability for it, you only spend money? One day you hear that Daniel Domelevo has been built a house, and you ask, Minister, where did you get the approval from? He said he took it from contingency vote. It is a window for stealing, it is a window for wastage, and must be stopped.
Domelevo is former Auditor General.